private sector or companies or corporate bodies should be innovative enough to be able to address Nigerians' problems, especially amongst the youth, in a creative way. I wanted you to shed light on that, please.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. So it's more or less in the direction of private sector taking the initiative to address the issues proactively. We as Bosch, yeah, we have, as I said initially, we are more or less in the business of innovation. So we spark our users as a result of our creativities. There is hardly an hour that goes by that we don't have a record of patents. So we know the importance of encouraging creativity, encouraging innovation. Our operations here in Nigeria as an organization is dated about five years back. Prior to this time, we've been working through partners, through authorized distributors, but we decided to come and promote the business ourselves because we see the potentials. So we are not just here because of the business motives. We are not just here for the profit orientation. We also have a responsibility to also give back to the community. And how do we give back to the community? Of course, we are not just here to just promote initiatives that doesn't really have a lot of value to the community, but we seek initiatives that are, trying to actually address issues, fundamental issues, issues that, if they are tackled, have a long-term impact in the community. And that is the reason why we believe that the Solution 17, as we started partnering with this organization last year, has long-term sustainability issues. Because, I mean, if you look at the age bracket of the participants in the 17 girls, they are just one of them, I believe, was in the university or just graduated from the university. So it's more or less a catch them young approach. Catch them young. I mean, and these guys also have. I like the approach because it is more measurable. They were challenged to put things in place to make sure that it has strong impact. And immediately after the gathering last year, they were all challenged to go back to their community and already start to lead these initiatives. So it is sustainable because it is also. It's an idea that can be sold to other individuals, other peer groups in their age category. And impacts like this, you can really not quantify it. You can only see it scaled when you have people who are more or less role models of these initiatives. So that is why we believe partnering with organizations like this that try to think strategically and also long-term is actually helping us in trying to also carry out some of our CSR responsibilities. So other private organizations, if they try to also work in this direction, we believe it's going to have a more long-term approach than just for the profit orientation.
Thank you very much. Please let's give him a round of applause. What I did hear him say is that that private sector shouldn't just be about those popular social projects. There's a lot going on in there that we can tap into. Creativity. I mean, using arts to talk, using arts to create awareness. I didn't think that was, going to do much. But then I read about the project. I watched some clips on it. And I got a bit impressed. Wait a minute. This can actually enable us to speak the same language. We can use art to communicate in a way that is beyond what the regular TV and radio can do. And I think it's a brilliant initiative. I'm going to take that back. By the way, PwC, where I belong, we also belong to a group called the Private Sector Advisory Group. We advise on the SDGs, and it will be good to take that back, as some of the initiatives that other private sector members are doing. Maybe for after now, what I would like is also for Robert Bosch to begin to think about deliberately selling this idea to other organizations. Yes, you've done it, it's successful, you think it's addressed what you want to be addressed, but you must also draw organizations to say, let's scale this. Let's take another 17 girls from the north, or let's take them across the 6 geopolitical zones, and so on and so forth, and let's scale impact. Again, the population in Nigeria is massively increasing. 17 girls is not going to solve the problem. We need that 17 multiplied by, millions of 17s. And maybe we can begin to talk about impact. Well, but thank you very much, Robert Bosch. Okay, so. Okay, the gentleman on my right-hand side, also from the private sector, right? Oh, okay, brilliant. African young entrepreneur, okay. So, particularly for you, I wanted to know, you've heard a lot of things about what private sector is doing, what corporates, under their corporate social responsibility agenda, under sustainability initiatives, and so on and so on. As a youth entrepreneur, as a young person, it would be nice to hear from you, what more, and this is not you talking to government, this is you talking to corporate bodies whose immediate agenda is to make profit, but with a bit of inclination to do good. What do you think? What do you think your role should be to get them to appreciate, in a way, to close the gap that is increasingly facing us in this massive youth unemployment situation that we're faced with? How do you think private sector should react to it?
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for having me. I think I'm most comfortable to speak on behalf of 12 million members that I represent. That's 12 million entrepreneurs across the globe, and this is first-hand experience with what they bring in, how they reason, what they think about, and their experiences. And also addressing the private sector, maybe I also prefer to address Africa as a whole, because it's critical that we understand that somehow everything is working to our favor when it comes to entrepreneurship. It's three things. It's manpower, population, and opportunities. And when you look at Nigeria, for example, look at the population of over 200 million people. You've got enough buying power, you've got enough manpower. I always say a born Nigerian is a born entrepreneur. And if you look at the stamina of a Nigerian, if you look at the traffic light and the guy selling gala to you or the guy selling fruits or anything, that guy's got huge stamina. You ain't going to see that overseas. It's an amazing stamina, amazing manpower that we need to harness. Also the kind of opportunities that's around us. I always say to my members, take advantage of poverty. What I mean in that case is that in poverty there's a lot of opportunities around. And it's no coincidence when you look at one and go to, when you see zero hunger and no to poverty. It's no coincidence that those are the first two things that comes to play. Because if you want to execute everything, you've got to have food in your belly. And you have to be able to be satisfied somehow and have a good well-being for you to be able to start even thinking creativity or even innovating. If you're hungry, you're not going to produce. So when we look at bringing it back to your question about the private sector, if you even want to make more profit, I think it's very critical that you create an atmosphere whereby everything is working around you very good. In Yoruba, they say, so when the economy where you are is functioning well, there's an atmosphere for profit. So it's very, very intentional that every private sector should look at the local communities and see how to develop these entrepreneurs. Somehow they get too self-centered, self-driven when it comes to profit. You just want to be my company and my name, my brand. But you forget that if those guys aren't making money, then you're losing customers. You aren't making profit. Then who's going to buy the produce if those guys are not making money? So the more you make, the more I make. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. Even though I think that we'll need more strong, convincing words for the private sector to, get them to do the right thing. I mean, so for instance, we know that in some countries, it's become a compliance thing. Companies are not required to separate a certain percentage of their profits and charge it towards social, investment or social spend, what we call corporate social responsibility. Again, I think that, and this message, thank you for your contributions. I see that you have been subtle towards them. The whole message behind sustainable practices, sustainable businesses, and sustainability itself is that if private sector keeps on going the way they are going, about businesses. One day there will be nobody to sell to. Yeah, there will be no planet to inhabit, and so on and so forth. But again, especially here, because of the nature and the extent of the situation itself, we require more. Government just has to, learn from other countries, either to put the right policies in place to get private sector to be more responsible. It just has to be that. If it's not compliance driven, there's little that is likely to be done. I mean, that's my opinion. So, but I hope things will get better than this. To the madam that is seated, the reason for this occasion, Fuluke, it's such a pleasure to be here with you and on this panel. I particularly wanted to, I remember that before now, it's really the first few times we met, I said, I know I could see your buzz, I could see your energy, but I was concerned about tenacity. I'm like, can you sustain? I'm checking you out. Is this woman going to still be around, doing this in another 10 years, another 20 years? I'm so pleased today that I can see you and you still have the same kind of energy. It's really quite impressive, because I know that in Nigeria, walking this kind of walk can be draining. And you could, at one time or the other, actually feel all alone.
Yes.
I'm very grateful to God that you're still here doing this. I wanted to particularly hear from you. What is the message that you have for corporate bodies? So besides the fact that a corporate body like PwC can help you with some of the architecture or the layout or the data processing of some of the things that you do, just like any other initiative, what message, what is the paramount message that you will give to a private sector advisory group, if you had that opportunity to talk to them, to be able to address this situation of decent work and unemployment?
Thank you so very much. I won't say too much, because I've met some passionate Nigerian youth also working on SDGs. I've seen some calling me and said, how did you do this? I'm frustrated, I need to go back. I've seen some knocking doors with a lot of promises from some private sectors, and it didn't work, and they felt like they were going to give up. And I kept encouraging them that, look, don't give up. The corporate body in Nigeria need to come together in a summit. I have gone to a couple of them in the last 10 years, asking for help in one way or the other. Before the CITC endorsed us for partnership, I told him the very first day I met him that I'm not going to knock the door of anyone anymore. I'm just going to go all out and ensure that we get to the top. They're not seeing this. Most of them. It will take people like you in a company for them to see what we're doing. The private sector is not just the name, it's individual workers working who can't see. And these are the kind of people we need to be talking to recommend what we are doing to the management. And if your talking point is not even taken, and probably some of these officers or these managers are lost in the discussion, what are they going to bring forward? I would want to see a forum of private sector being organized in this country, where some of us can come and speak to them on this vision of new Nigeria. They might feel that they are losing money, they are making money, like AYE founder and president had said. If they decide today to promote this new Nigeria, more profits on their table, starting from now. We're talking about a country of over 200 million people. Do you know how many products that can be created and sold to other countries of the world? Hey, corporate bodies, rise up and help this country. Like I said earlier, if we decide to wait for Asorok to fix this country, my father died without seeing electricity in my village constantly. I mean, I mean, you see your community, everything is, you know, little child will come in and say, up NEPA, down NEPA. You know, these are the language they're growing up with. Do you think Asura will fix this for us? But inside all of you are potential to create electricity. Inside all of us here is that idea that you're born with to impact your generation. Yes, we don't have the environment, but we can create it. I'm sending you back to that team because I know you are one of them. I need to go back to Abuja and speak to your team that the change makers are here. They need help. Not everyone will sell their assets like me to make things happen. It's not just easy for so many of them. Couple of months, 2 years ago, sir, you remember that my car was stolen by my driver, driven away. In a night before a program like this, I was blanked because there was no way I could continue. But I rented a kabu from that brand new car to a kabu almost the next day because nothing would make me or would break me from fulfilling my dream. But do you know there are 1 million of Foluken in this country today? You think it's only me? Please don't think that way. There are so many of us. Go back and tell them that the doers, the curators, the innovators, the entrepreneurs of this world, the Steve Jobs of this world, they're already here. They just need a little help. Do you know that by the time we were reaching out to Robert Butch, there was no way they could approve a proposal because it was so close. You know, just a few weeks before the Solution 17 roundup, we did not have a dime to complete that project. And you know, a normal organization will have to see proposals and all of that. And German embassy said, oh, we open our door. And good enough, we have Mr. Kasali here, who is representing the Consul General of the Embassy of Germany. You know, the journey with the Germans, they've opened their doors several times for exhibition, for press conference, because we didn't have money. And he said to me, look, Folu, if Nigerian company is not going to do it, I'm going to start introducing you to the German company in Nigeria. That was how we met Robert Boch, DHL, and a couple of them that are now talking to us today. They are not like Nigeria are coming to us. It's German are coming to us. So you can imagine all of that. And Robert Boch said, look, this is too late. What can we do? I said, everything is not about money. We need medals for these girls. We also need to use space. And they opened the door of the company. Our SDG award for 2018 was actually held at Robert Boch head office. We saved about 5 million. Everything is not about money. Rise up and support this youth to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Foluke. And I'm very happy that David Kigun is here from Sahara. We're both members of the Private Sector Advisory Group. David, can you just, so that it's not just me. Okay, yeah, very clearly said. We will take the messaging back. Again, I can resonate to a considerable level with other members of the private sector, and I know that usually companies they have one or two things that they are doing, and they have a right to that. But again, it also has to be you coming to a company and them believing what you sell to them and them choosing to invest in it. So perhaps one thing we can learn from here is to be ambassadors of one another, to say that this one works. We've seen it, we've heard about it, we can put our names to it, it works. So let's support it. I think that will go a long way. Thank you so very much, Foluke, for that.
Thank you.
And the gentleman, we're saving the last for the best, right? The best for the last.
Wonder why.
Well, thank you very much for being here as well. And this will be the last question. I'm sure that my 20 minutes is almost over, if not over. It's also to the same vein. What would you like to say to one particular organization that? So I wouldn't say the private sector as a group. If you came across an organization, a corporate body that wanted to take a decision to socially invest in Nigeria, what will be one of the things that you would urgently say to him, oh, invest in this, it is likely to create more impact or to to scale more impact than any other that you can think of?
First of all, hello. All right. First of all, let me tell you that we're going to exceed the 20 minutes. So, if you want to scale,
Right.
the first thing you need is an idea that works, backed up with an innovation process that works. Then you have to make sure that it works for people. Because I mean, I live in Nigeria, I live in Lagos. I see a lot of things that don't work, but we keep doing it. Yes, it doesn't work. Yesterday, this road was blocked from CMS to Aja. Meanwhile, the waterway was open. We need to step back for a second. It's not. This is, first of all, for something to work, for something to be scalable. It has to have three things behind it. First of all, an idea, innovation, process. So if a company wants to invest in something that can work, something that is scalable, you will have to have these three things at the back of our head. An idea, the innovation process, the process itself. Then we also have to build it around one key factor. Who's the user? The people. Who's the user? So this is the problem here. This is the people that is suffering from the problem. You have an idea, innovation, process. Build it around there, and that's indestructible. Simple. So let's take it back to, you said we shouldn't put it to private sector. So I'm going to put it to public sector now. Nigerian Inland Waterways and Lagos State Inland Waterways it's for me, they are they are the gem of the society today. Yesterday has proven to us all that we need to think about a different mode of transportation. I heard NCA is investigating the guy with the helicopter, but that's not what they should be doing. They should be asking, how do we make transportation, how do we make commute how do we create that work-life balance for people that go out every day and go home every day? Is it waterways? Do we need to create more roads? There are 3 roads down this axis. Most people don't know. They think it's just this road. There are 3 roads down this axis. There's one on the lagoon. There's one on the ocean front. We need to build 2 more roads down this way. We need to open up the waterways. There was a plan to build a cable car from here to Falomo, to Obalende, and to the mainland. What happened to it? We need to ask these questions. It's not just the private sector. There's public sector, and there's a handshake between the private sector and the public sector that needs to be done. It must be done for us to actually have a sustainable life in Lagos. Let us even start with Lagos, then we can go global. That's just the point.
We hear him loud and clear. Commuting is a fundamental problem. And until people have ease of going about to do their businesses, that is still a gap that, is yet to be addressed. Thank you so very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. That has brought me to the end of this panel.